One of the organisers of Saturday's rally is John Rees from the Stop the War coalition. He spoke to us this evening. What do you make of the Prime Minister's intervention and the police chief's response today?
Well, I think that this is a very peculiar political dynamic, because it started really because Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, launched one of her insane attacks in terms of the marches, saying there were hate marches and should be banned. I think that got ahead of where anybody else in the government was really heading, put the police under enormous pressure. And I think in the end of the day, they couldn't find a legal means of banning the march. I think the whole argument about Armistice Day fell apart in public. I think the Prime Minister felt he had to back her, but then in the end of the day couldn't override the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, and therefore had to say there were no legal grounds for banning the march. So I think it's been a very bad day for the Home Secretary, and she certainly deserves it, and probably as bad a day for the Prime Minister. But the
Prime Minister says holding the march on Armistice Day is disrespectful. Why did you choose Saturday for this?
We didn't. We just chose the next week in which this continuing massacre in Gaza was happening. And we, in all honesty, couldn't see a way in which it wouldn't be right to protest when the figures went over 10,000 dead in Gaza in the last 24 hours, when we've just learnt that as many children have been killed in this offensive in Gaza as in all the rest of the world's conflicts for the last 3 years put together. Now, our march isn't about Armistice Day, it's about that.
But the world doesn't revolve around London. You could have taken it somewhere else.
Well, London, as I'm sure Scottish viewers are aware, has a unique political power and political significance in this country. London and the South East is where over a third of the population of the country lead, and no demonstration in any other place would have the same political impact. That's not a situation of my choosing, but it is a political fact.
You could just have decided not to have it on Saturday at all.
We could have done, in which case the killing would have gone on in Gaza without anybody in this country protesting about it, and that would have been quite wrong. But I must say, I think the whole argument about Armistice Day is a political confection by the Home Secretary, and I can't really see what the logical objection is to calling for an armistice on Armistice Day. We aren't marching near the cenotaph, we're marching miles away from it, and marching even further away from it for the finish point, so it won't disrupt those ceremonies whatsoever. It's not even on Remembrance Sunday, it's on the day before. And I can't see what is wrong with invoking a day which is supposed to be at the remembrance of the dead, not in order to continue piling up the dead, but in order to stop the dying. And that's exactly what we're about.
But it is on Armistice Day. The Prime Minister says it's disrespectful. Do you have respect for Armistice Day and what it stands for?
I have enormous respect for anybody who fought the war to end all wars, the First World War, and were disappointed because that didn't happen. I have enormous respect for anybody who battled against fascism in the Second World War to preserve the right of free speech and the right of free assembly.
And how big a turnout are you expecting on Saturday?
I think it's going to be a very, very big demonstration indeed. I was one of the organisers of the February 2003 march against the Iraq War, which is the biggest demonstration in British political history. I think this demonstration is looking like it will rival that demonstration, and I hope it does. I hope it exceeds those numbers. So I think this will be a demonstration of at least 500,000 to 1 million, and maybe considerably more.
You must accept that that will be difficult to police then, won't it? Because if groups within that, and there may be groups who want to cause trouble in that, if they want to cause trouble, it's going to be difficult for the rest of the march, isn't it? Difficult for the police to control.
Well, as I say, the demonstration against the Iraq War was bigger than this. It was 2 million, and that passed off entirely peacefully. And I expect the demonstration on Saturday to be the same.
But you can't guarantee that, can you? With something this size, you simply can't guarantee that.
No, nobody can guarantee that there won't be a tiny minority of people who behave badly. You can't guarantee it at a Celtic match. So I don't see why we should be expected to guarantee it at a much bigger gathering. There will always be some people, perhaps, there haven't always been on our demonstrations, but there might be, a tiny minority who tried to cause trouble. We have made it absolutely clear, and we have a very experienced stewarding team, that we don't want and won't tolerate that. And I'm sure the police will take a similar attitude.
It's been said that some of the organisers involved in this have links to Hamas. Do they?
No.
None at all?
No.
And are you concerned that, given the scale of this march, there could be some intervention from far-right groups?
Well, there's always a possibility. I mean, one of the disastrous things about Suella Braverman's intervention in this is that she's provoked such a reaction. There was no Tommy Robinson demonstration at the Cenotaph before she spoke, and after a few days campaigning by her, there now is. So she's actually the person who's acted in a way which is going to provoke discontent and possibly violence by unleashing those people on the streets of London. And frankly, she is the most incendiary politician to hold cabinet rank since Enoch Powell. Ted Heath sacked Enoch Powell for the kind of politics that Suella Braverman's got. Rishi Sunak...
Johnny, she's not here to defend herself, but let's hope that Saturday goes without any trouble. John Rees, thanks for joining us in Scotland tonight.
You're very welcome.